Hello, everyone. Welcome to Queer Lawyers Speak, hosted by LAGBAC, Chicago's LGBTQ+ Bar Association. My name is Adam Zebelian. I'm a partner at Schiller, Ducanto, & Fleck, where I practice family law, and I'm also the current president of LAGBAC, Chicago's LGBTQ+ Bar Association. Today, we have a special guest who is also a very old friend of mine, Judge Stephanie Miller, and we will try to be as serious as possible, but I can't guarantee that the entire show. But welcome, Judge Miller.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes.
And I hope you didn't just call me old.
I did not.
Okay.
I think of you as an older sister, but not much older.
Good answer.
Okay.
Nice recovery.
Right. So, Judge Miller, you and I have been friends for close to
Don't name a year. Don't name a year. Go ahead.
Close to 2 decades. We'll just say that. We became friends when we were both state's attorneys together. You were much more...
You're making me old again.
Okay, well, you were ahead of me in the office. We'll just say
Good
that.
answer.
You were prosecuting murders when I was prosecuting misdemeanors. Fair to say?
Correct.
Okay. So you are now a judge. How long have you been a judge?
Since January 30th, 2017, so about 8.5 years.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that long.
I know.
And you ran for judge
I did.
once,
Yeah.
the first time.
Well, I was appointed by the Illinois Supreme Court, sworn in January 30th, 2017, ran to keep my position in a sub-circuit, finished second, okay, out of 2, but...
Hey.
However, I was still a sitting judge until, because that's the primary, and there was no opponent in the general. However, I held my position until December of 2017. In the interim, an associate judge list came out, and it was an incredibly large list. I believe there were 17 of us, which makes the short list 34. And there were several judges who sitting by appointment who had lost their races. And so all of us were in the mix for associate judge along with numerous other individuals. I believe the list before it got parlayed down to the short list was close to 300.
Wow, that was a huge applicant pool.
It was a huge applicant pool. That was before, that's when we had larger AJ classes in the 10, 15, 17s.
So for people that are listening and they're not familiar with the process, there was a judge that retired or decided to go do something else.
Yes.
There's a vacancy. The
Yes.
Supreme Court selected you to fill that vacancy.
Correct.
But when that happens, you then have to run for your spot.
Exactly.
If you lose, you serve out the rest of the term, and then the new person gets sworn in and takes that spot.
Correct.
There's 2 ways, though, to become a judge in in Illinois.
Yes, all of Illinois. Yeah.
All of Illinois. You can either run,
Correct,
and the people vote you in, or you are voted in by the ones that were voted in by the people.
Called the full circuit judges.
Full circuit judges are elected by the people, and then associate judges are elected by the full circuit judges.
Correct, exactly.
So you apply to become an associate judge.
Correct.
It's not uncommon to run as an appointed candidate as well as apply for the associate position.
Correct.
And that's what you did.
Exactly. I had actually applied to be an associate judge prior to ever getting an appointment. And the chief judge of Cook County, Tim Evans, had in that year held off the associate judge shortlist and then appointments till after the primary that year. It just happened to coincide that way. So the primary happens, myself and several of my colleagues lose our races, and that not all of my colleagues had applied to be an associate judge, but the vast majority had, and then that put us into the pool to be considered to be an associate judge. I was very lucky then to keep my position as a judge, albeit no longer a full circuit judge, but as an associate judge. So I've never left the bench since my appointment on January 30th of 2017. And I served, past tense, as an associate judge until I decided to run again, and I had to wait till my twins were in college because they didn't want me to run again while they were still home. There had been some incidents that required police involvement. Somebody was literally charged and convicted of a felony in regards to threatening me and criminal damage to our house.
While you were running for office
While I was running for office, actually on my kid's birthday,
Wow.
ended up throwing something through the window of our house after having threatened me and saying he knew where I lived and I better look out and all of the above. And then, so my family was like, wait, and my kids were like, wait till we're in college. So fast forward, they're both in college, and I said, I think I want to do this again. And my wife's position was, that's perfect, I support you, but not nearly as much money, please, not nearly as much time spent out and about. And so we kind of reached an agreement along those lines. I applied for a position in sub-circuit, but now I hadn't moved. I lived in my home for over 20 years, but they redrew the sub-circuit lines. So now it was a different numbered sub-circuit, but I was still exactly in the same place. So I ran, and there were 2 vacancies in the sub-circuit.
When was it? Is this 2020 that you ran?
No, this was 2020. I started the process in 2023. It was for the 2024 primary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I ran and ultimately ran unopposed. So not nearly as much of an issue as it was the first time around, and got sworn in early by the Supreme Court. I didn't have to wait till December to get sworn in as a full circuit because, and not just me, there were several judges statewide, but especially in Cook County, because we were so shorthanded judges due to retirements, due to other issues with appointments and fulfillment of AJ spots, associate judge spots, that Chief Judge Evans had petitioned to the Supreme Court to please appoint judges who won their primaries, who did not have an opponent in the general, and had all positive Bar Association ratings. So several of us were sworn in early with the Supreme Court in June of 2024, and then went to another ceremony in December of 2024 after the general. So,
but for all intents and purposes, it's been judge since 2017.
Yes, exactly.
And this is public knowledge, the difference between a full circuit judge's income and then an associate judge's income is $10,000, right? Something around there.
Yes, right around there, yes.
Yeah, so you got a raise.
I did.
And now you get to vote for the associate judges.
And for the chief judge.
And for the chief judge. Mm-hmm. So you have spent, well, let's talk about your career. Okay. What led you to the bench? How'd you get there? I mean, a
lot of luck, a lot of hard work, but a lot of luck too.
Because you've always been out, as long as I've known you, in your professional career.
Yes, yeah. I started out of law school. I started in the Cook County Public Guardian's office, and wasn't initially out there, in part because...
Now, when was this?
Now you really are going to make me say maybe how old I am. Started there. I started clerking there all through law school. When I became an attorney in November of 1999, sworn in as attorney and became an attorney there, stayed there for a couple of years until I lateraled over to the state's attorney's office in 2001.
Okay.
I initially was not out at the public guardian's office, mainly because it was a position working with children. I didn't want that to be an uncomfortable situation for anyone. And I was of the mindset that that didn't define me. It was a part of who I was, didn't define me.
And it was a different time.
It was a different time. This was the late 90s. And I wanted my work ethic and my knowledge and everything to speak for itself and not have anything be misinterpreted. And how wrong I was in that setting, because the Public Guardian's Office was the most open and accepting of all diversities. I am half Puerto Rican, my mother born and raised in Puerto Rico. So being a woman, being Latina, being a lesbian, that so welcoming and embraced all cultures, all diversity areas, and then from there on, it was never going back.
So you came out at the Public Guardian.
I came out at the Public Guardian's Office,
What
correct.
does the Public Guardian do for people that don't know?
So they, in several different areas, but in juvenile court, they are the GAL, guardian ad litem, an attorney appointed by the court to be the eyes and ears of the court effectively, to provide information to the court about what is in a minor's best interest. In juvenile court, they hold a dual role because they are also the attorney for the child. So in juvenile court, they hold a double role.
So they're actually the child's lawyer, which has certain implications like attorney-client privilege
Exactly,
and duties to them.
they're wearing two hats. Is the
Well,
way
that can
we
be
always
difficult.
use it. It can, and sometimes there is a requirement, especially when you get when you're dealing with clients who are older, who are teenagers and stuff, where it becomes more of their wishes and what they want because they're able to articulate that than it would be for an infant or a toddler who can't articulate that. And then it's a, I don't want to say a juggling position, but it's a balancing, if you will.
But what type of cases are you participating in as a guardian?
Well, it's not a guardian, it's a guardian ad litem.
Guardian ad litem.
Yeah, so cases that are brought, the state's attorney's office charges them, but it's DCFS who investigates and bring the cases, children who are abused, neglected, or dependent under the Juvenile Court Act. So they have that arm, and then they also have...
The guardian does.
The Cook County Public Guardian.
Yes, okay.
And they also have an office downtown where they have a small component in child support, but their larger component is they can and are appointed as guardians of the person and or the estate for people who have been adjudicated disabled adults under the Probate Act. So they have both of those kind of positions and roles.
Because we don't see the public guardian come into our cases, at least not.
No.
It would be very abnormal
was
for the
gonna
public
say-
guardian to come in a domestic relations
Right.
case, a family law case.
Yeah, I think once in a blue moon they will appear, and I know there is now, because we have crossover cases with domestic relations court all the time, with the probate division where I currently sit, where judges in domestic relations are referring cases to the public guardian's office to file in probate court when, for example, there's a divorce proceeding between a couple and a judge feels that one of the parties may not have the capacity to enter into any agreement, may need a guardian themselves. And so they have kind of a protocol to reach out to the public guardian's office to look into whether it qualifies for something to be brought before the judges in our division in probate.
Understood. Okay. Interesting. I actually, fortunately, have not come across that, but I have heard of cases like that. So you go to the state's attorney's office, you're out. Now, you're married.
I am.
How long have the two of you been married?
Well, we have been married. We just celebrated our 11th wedding anniversary because I made my wife wait till it was legal. But we have been together for 26 years, married for 11.
Raised two kids together.
We have 20-year-old twins.
Both of whom are in college.
They are.
All right.
They're home for the summer, but yes, they are both in college.
How's that going?
It's a lot more expensive when they're home.
I bet.
No, I love having them home, and I enjoy our time when they're gone too.
Okay. All right. So State's Attorney's Office, and then you were there till 2017, 2001 to 2017.
Yes.
And that's how we met each other.
Exactly.
Because all of us LGBTQ lawyers banded together.
Yes, we did.
And I used to go steal candy from your office all the time.
That would be true. That would be true.
So we ask everyone, well, for the most part, we recently had our first ally on the show, but anyone that's not an ally, we ask their coming out story.
Okay.
Do you want to share
Sure.
your coming out story?
Not a problem. So growing up, I always gravitated.
You grew up here in Chicago.
No, I actually grew up in Northwest Indiana, in Michigan City, Indiana.
Close enough.
Yeah, so right along the lake, and only child. Both my parents are teachers, wonderful family with no issues, and I literally, and not to stereotype, but played softball and
in college too, right?
And in college also, but played 3 sports in high school and softball in college, and had always been drawn to, I guess is the best way to say, since I was, in junior high or high school, to powerful women, to people I thought I was just, oh, they're really cool. They look, I look up to them. I, want to spend time with them. I want to learn from them. And it was also true with, women, girls at that time, I guess, in high school that I just thought were cool and that were my age that I wanted to hang out with. And I never thought it was a sexual thing per se. I had boyfriends all through high school and everything, but then I graduate from high school and I meet somebody and just thought she was incredibly cool and really wanted to hang out with her and just wanted to spend time with her because she was cool. And that ended up being my first relationship. And I had told my closest friends, and everybody was incredibly supportive. And I had held off and not said anything to my parents because...
well, there's this pressure, regardless of whether you're the only child or not, but very much more intense when you're the only child because they automatically assume that if you're LGBTQ that you're not going to be having kids, which was not true for you. Right.
Well, and the funny part about that is, since I was very little, and my father loves to tell the story that when I was 5 or 6, and I was more of a tomboy, so didn't play with dolls that much, but
I played with all the dolls.
Yeah,
I had a ton of dolls.
That surprises no one. That surprises no one. And I was with a friend, and we were playing Barbies, and my father had commented about, oh, when you have kids, and I said, well, if my husband gives birth, and who knew that was foreshadowing, that I never really wanted to be the person who physically was pregnant and gave birth, and my wife gave birth to our twins. And so fast forward then, and my parents were very supportive of my friend who they had met, who I was in a relationship with, but they didn't know. And when I'm very close to my father, incredibly close to my father, and I actually came out to my dad before I came out to my mom. My parents are still together, but I had individual conversations with each. And my father's response was, I've known this whole time. I was just waiting for you to tell me. And I just have a question. And I said, of course, you can ask me anything. Can I still walk you down the aisle if you choose to get married? Or is that not a thing that's done? And I, maybe broke down and cried a little.
Yeah.
And he was just so incredibly supportive. And my mother's response was, well, of course, what took you so long?
Right.
Which I loved the support about just how normal and natural it was from their perspective. Well, of course, we love you, so we're going to love anybody you love and care about. And it's kind of the running joke in our family that my mother really likes my wife more than she likes me sometimes, which is fine.
Well, it sounds like you were daddy's girl.
Oh,
so maybe...
very much so, very much so.
Okay, well, that's great. So you accepting family. Your
Very much
parents
so.
still live in Northwest Indiana?
They
or-
do.
Okay.
Yep.
So they've been very active in the upbringing of your kids. and-
Absolutely. Yep.
oh, that's great. That's great. So a success story.
Yeah.
So why did you decide to leave the practice of law and go on the bench? And go through the whole process of running, which is not only incredibly time intensive, but also incredibly expensive.
Yeah, it was. And I pay attention to politics and always have. And, read everything I could get my hands on it, but I wasn't political in that I wasn't at, my alderman's office all the time or working on this state representative's campaign or, I wasn't politically active from that perspective. Politically informed, absolutely. Politically active and involved from certainly voting and yes, but like literally knocking on doors for my local politician, no. Did I financially support candidates that I agreed with and was aligned with? Absolutely. However, I wasn't the boots on the ground ever. And that was very much one of the things that was very different. Actually, in 2012, I met with newly elected to the Supreme Court, now Chief Justice Mary Jane Tice, in 2012. And she was like, I'm considering you for an appointment. Whose support do you have? And I didn't really understand the question. I said, well, because we weren't married yet, my partner and my family. And she's like, no, I meant political support. I was like, well, that should have been the first answer that I wasn't ready in 2012. So I said, thank you. I appreciate it. However, I'm not ready. And she said, I appreciate you telling me that. I'll keep you in mind. Fast forward to 2017, a vacancy opened countywide, and I had submitted an application. There's an application you fill out for the Supreme Court. And somebody else got appointed to it, and that was perfectly fine. However, that application was still there, and a spot opened up in my sub-circuit, at which time I was actually on vacation with my parents in Indiana, and my cell phone rings, and it says Supreme Court, and I was like,
That's a phone call you get very nervous about. When
exactly.
You're a
I'm like, I'm going to take this in the other room, and it was a lady saying, please hold for Justice Charles Freeman, who I had never met. I mean, I'd met, but there was no reason for him to know me or know who I was. And I, of course I will. And I understand that you're interested in an appointment to the bench. Well, I applied for this full circuit. And he's like, yeah, but there's a spot in your sub-circuit. Are you interested? And I said, why, yes, I am. And he said, okay, the only chance, and this was over Christmas break, the only chance that I'm going to be able to swear you in is January 30th, 2017. Can you make it? And I said, sure, that would be my anniversary, not my wedding anniversary, but my anniversary of what we called our dating anniversary. And I said, and I hadn't even talked to my wife, and I said, yes, I'm sure I'm available. And then I had to go tell her, I have good news and bad news.
I'm getting a raise.
Yeah. I'm getting an appointment to the Supreme Court, and I'm getting sworn in, and everybody was so excited. I said, and it's on our anniversary. And she said, oh, okay, all right. He can't do it any other day, huh? And I said, do you want to call Justice Charles Freeman and ask him if he can do it any other day? Because I'm not. So hence I was sworn in on our anniversary.
Okay, well then that made the dinner extra special.
Yeah. It was a party that ended up being my family and 100 plus of our closest friends. But yes.
So, and Justice Freeman was the first African American on the bench.
Absolutely.
Or on the Supreme Court.
On the Supreme Court.
Supreme
yes.
Court, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely.
I didn't know Justice Freeman appointed you.
Yeah. It was, so the 3 Cook County justices.
Because the Supreme Court of Illinois gets 3 justices
From
Cook County.
It's all based on population.
Right.
And obviously Cook being,
And there's 7 justices, and 3 of them come
3
from
of them are from Cook, just based on population.
Yeah.
So they, I don't know whose appointment it may have been, but I know there's always conversations among everybody and, in consideration. And I guess my sub-circuit happened to be Justice Freeman's appointment. I know, having spoken with Chief Justice Tice, that obviously they had a conversation. Justice Burke was on the bench then, and I had met with her previously also. So I think it was, I can't speak for the justices, but a conversation, and it was Justice Freeman appointment. So.
Well, that's great. That's great. You've been on the bench ever since.
I have.
Well, we've been pretty serious this whole
I
time.
know.
But I thought you had questions for me. Oh,
I do
okay.
have questions for you. So
I'm excited for these questions.
Yeah.
I don't know how appropriate they're going to be.
Well, I will. I'm not going to swear.
Okay, good.
I was given the idea by one of your previous guests that it would be nice to ask you some questions.
Okay.
So, in keeping with the legal profession and that it's Pride Month, I thought we'd play a little game called Would You Rather.
Okay, fine.
So, I'm going to give you 2 scenarios or options, and you have to pick which one would you rather do.
Okay, just so everyone knows, I've not heard any of these questions.
No, and literally, while I was sitting in the green room, put them on my phone while I was sitting there. So
Okay.
we have not talked about this. So we'll start with the little easier ones. All right. Would you, because I know you're from Michigan, would you prefer to move back to the state of Michigan and live in a small town, or take the bar exam again?
Take the bar exam again.
Wow. Wow.
Although I love the small town I'm from, I like being from there.
Yeah, and visiting.
Yes.
And getting to leave.
Yes.
Same thing with my hometown.
Yes.
I love going and visiting.
I think
and
that's
coming home to Chicago.
It's a very queer experience.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, see, that wasn't that bad. All right. Would you rather pick and put on witnesses on a murder jury trial the day after the Pride Parade, or switch your practice of law to only appellate work where you don't get to appear in court?
Put the witness out in the murder jury. That's a good question.
Yes,
too.
because Adam, just like me, when you're a prosecutor, born and raised in a courtroom and litigating and being in court, not that appellate work isn't super rewarding for a lot of people and perfectly fabulous.
It's just not for us.
It's not for us. Let's go with that. Let's go with that. Okay. Would you rather never practice law again, or dress up as Wonder Woman and be in the Pride Parade again?
Dress up as Wonder Woman.
I'm sure something still fits.
So I did do that one year.
And I managed to knock my microphone
Oh,
off.
I'm sorry.
See,
maybe
it
I
was
did.
quite the answer, so I managed to knock my microphone off.
Luckily we're out of time because I don't know where these questions were going.
Oh, they were getting better, but that's okay. No, we'll stop there.
Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for coming on our show and sharing your story and being such a good friend of mine.
Always.
And it was fun, and I knew it would be. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay.
All right, thank you to all of you. See you next time.